Mother. Man.
Dennis Nilsen here to snake the drains in your loo. Cheers and bloody tut-tut to Murder Metal Mayhem.
Spreading faster than a case of the clap in a trailer court. Able to shatter eardrums within a 666-mile radius. A podcast more brutal than all the rest. It's Murder Metal Mayhem!
What the fuck is up? Chris Shaw back.
Sounds like Leonard Nilsen wants to have a drink with us.
Yeah, sounded kind of inviting.
What's
there.
going on, Pete?
Oh, not much, man. Doing that Tuesday thing, doing episode 99, boys.
Fuck
I
yeah,
can't
man.
believe it. One episode from the ever-elusive 100th. So crushing it all in our own way and totally doing what we want to be doing. So it's a lot of fun, man. And kicking ass at the same time. Got Mr. Grindcore himself, Joey Goremonger, still hanging out here, horns high.
I'm here.
Number 9, right?
Yeah, because I'll be on for the 100th also, because we already recorded that.
Right.
But I do go back to work tomorrow, so
Interesting.
we'll see.
See how that rolls
Yeah,
out.
it's going to be interesting for a lot of people. I know probably some of our listeners, or a lot of our listeners, probably in the same boat. So.
It was so weird. It was like the fucking phone call I got from them, and my boss just talking to me, I don't know. It was very fucking adverse compared to what's going on in the world right now. Like them, like, oh yeah, we're getting back to normal. You ready to come in? And I'm like, man, the fucking world's losing its mind, especially the U.S. right now. Like, is this the time to go back to normal? Like, it's so confusing.
Right. Oh, it is, man. It is. Yeah, what poor timing. Like, the weather was so beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
This last weekend, and people were wanting to finally get out, and then this shit goes on.
Yeah,
it's like,
fucking insane.
I don't fucking think so. Like, I don't need to go to Walmart that bad, like. So, pretty crazy fucking times. But with all the riots going on, it definitely feels like we're in the context of like a movie.
I feel like it sometimes.
It does. I mean, all this stuff, we've been dealing with the pandemic, and then all this, it's over the top. So, we try to do this as kind of an escape. So, we're going to not talk about that stuff tonight. Now, last week was a good episode on a wicked town, Jerome, Arizona.
Hell yeah.
With the sliding jail.
That's
It
right.
still fucks me up.
Yeah, the sliding jail and the
Gee,
haunted
yeah.
hotels and all sorts of crazy places there. Interesting stories. So we had about 900 listens at the time of this recording tonight. So looks like we had a good response, and that's
Not
always
terrible,
awesome.
Right? Yeah, it's something off topic, kind of, but still interesting. So.
Right. Yeah, it's very, very cool when we've got, something going on with people that maybe is not the typical episode, a feature that's different, unique,
Right.
for whatever reason, and then it just seems to be a thing that works for whatever reason that is, and Jerome, Arizona is certainly not a typical topic we would do. We don't normally do stuff about places.
Since y'all went out there and you actually got to see what it was about and all the shit that did happen, like the memorabilia and all that shit.
Right.
I mean, even better with the listens too is you got to think like in the last week people have been pretty much stuck to their social media shit, watching what's going on or news. So people have had less time to probably listen to the podcast.
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah.
So that many listens in light of that is still awesome.
I agree,
well.
because I've heard the same thing, that a lot of podcasts are way down because people aren't doing that work commute or listening at work, in background while they're doing
they're
shit.
sitting at home now. They're watching this bullshit on TV. And shit.
Especially now, especially this. So,
so that's good. You got the listens.
It is. It's fantastic. Of course, CK did DRI, which was good, and we had a couple of good Mayhem stories in there, pretty brutal stuff with CK and I doing some old high school stories of people being tied to the side of the highway.
So fucked. Dude.
So funny shit for sure. Plus the usual killer cage match, karaoke, and more. So give episode 98 a listen if you missed that one, because it was a good one. So Tonight, we got another good one, man. Number 99 is not going to disappoint. It's a guy that probably some of our listeners don't know a lot about.
He's the kindly killer.
He is. He is the kindly killer. I was actually did one of those Facebook quiz. I never do that kind of stuff.
But the
it was a serial killer one.
I did it too.
That was the only one I got wrong because it was him and an old lady, and I had been doing the research.
That's the only one I got wrong too.
And I had never saw anything that referred to him as the kindly killer. After that, that's all I heard. There was even a documentary called The Kindly Killer. Like, really? Where the fuck were you on YouTube when I looked last time, you know? So, yeah, it's pretty funny. But, yeah, the kindly killer, Dennis Nilsen. Nielsen, as I've heard it pronounced as well. But a UK killer, and he's got their highest body count at 15. So, definitely a sick son of a bitch. Like to chop him up and put him down the toilet. So, definitely some crazy stuff. And how odd, you know,
chicken, man.
This guy doesn't end up in more true crime conversations is kind of surprising when you really dig into the story, because he was a sick bastard. He just died last year.
And how he stored the bodies was just like, how can you not know, dude?
Yeah, I mean, the smell is just atrocious. Yeah, it was really bad. And the documentaries I watched had the actual guy that was there, like the cop, the agent, detective, Peter J. And, man, just the descriptions of that, just crazy.
What's cool, though, is like you get some of these ones that are a little bit less known. Dennis Nilsen, for sure. Like you could probably ask even a lot of true crime people in the U.S. They probably might not know who he is. But it's like whenever you guys do an episode like this, it's cool because then like I've got my friends that are in the U.K. that would definitely know a little bit more. So that's like, oh, check this out. And they're like, oh shit, a podcast about it.
We've had a few listeners. One, Stacy Dudley. Commented, you know, I hope you point out what a jerk he was when he did interviews, because he was kind of an asshole in an interview. Right. So, Stacy, I mentioned it, so don't give me any shit. I did mention it. So it's definitely going to be a good one. And so that's in our course in the murder segment. Got CK raring and ready to go tonight. He's waiting to talk about a band we all fucking love, Dying Fetus.
Man.
Hell yeah. I told him to do one really sick for tonight with Nilsen in mind. So he went with Dying Fetus, and you can't go wrong there. That's definitely an all thumbs up
one
for
of my
sure.
Favorites from back in the day for sure.
Oh, yeah. And another lost classic for us to talk about. So always good stuff from him with those, because I've been jamming on some as he's been mentioning them, and a lot of it's really good shit. Got another killer cage match tonight. Chris, we got some listeners to thank. I just mentioned this person.
Yep. We got Stacy Dudley, Wesley Hudo, and Laura Pert. So, yeah, thank you for the numbers.
Is that Rick's wife?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
That would be
awesome. I'm not sure. So tonight we got a good matchup. Joey, we got a couple of killers going at it tonight. Kind of an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting.
I mean, it's a pretty sadistic fight, I would think.
Yeah.
You got
no holds barred, man.
Yeah, for sure. You got fucking Ted Bundy himself.
Right.
Going up against the fucking disgusting Carl Panzer.
Yeah, sodomizing motherfucker, man.
Sodomizing.
Wow. If Bundy can leave that fight with his asshole intact, I'd be very impressed, you know.
No, he's getting butt raped, bro.
So they're going to be fighting to the death in a cage during the Mayhem segment, so you definitely don't want to miss that.
We'll have to talk about this with everything else coming up in it, though, the objects and the variable. We'll have to talk about it because it's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. So make sure you guys check out spellboundeffectsandart.com. We talk about these guys a lot because they're amazing, man. Tony Campagna is definitely the man when it comes to sick art and a whole catalog of body parts. Chris, like some shit like Ed Gein might have dreamed up out there in Plainfield, you know.
Yo, he didn't dream it up. He made it to fruition. He definitely didn't just dream it up.
Tony, the shit he sends us, man, this lamp and the fucking forearm
and
with
Spike.
And Spike, man, it's
He's so
sick.
badass. The fucking
so sick. I mean, people walk in this studio and they immediately see that, you know. even when we just had the forearm on the merch table at the booth at the HorrorCon.
Yeah, there's so many people were like,
everybody's
"What?"
like, can I take a picture with it? Or can I pick it up? You know, it's like, holy shit, this feels real, you know. It does.
Oh, it is real.
It is.
Got a good taxidermist.
Yeah. So spellboundeffectsandart.com, seriously, amazing stuff. Thanks everybody out there checking out the show. As Joey mentioned, you know, podcast listens tend to be down right now. Ours, for some reason, are rising, which is really amazing. So we really appreciate that. And we've always got new places checking out the show. It always amazes me. It was cool to see the country of Hungary and Serbia again. I've seen Serbia on there before. Top countries listening. Just crazy. Then that's amazing. I'm just amazed that there's people that dig it in those places. So thank you guys for listening.
Hell yeah.
Chicago still dominates top cities listening, and they're about 2.5, 3 hours north of us. So we're not in Chicago, but most people, when they hear Illinois, just assume it's a suburb of Chicago. Yeah. But no, we're quite a bit south of it, between Chicago and St. Louis. So. Anyway, followed by Danbury, Connecticut, where CK is, and Bloomington, Illinois, which is close to us, and Dallas, Texas. So thank you guys again. And Winnipeg, Manitoba, and Canada still hanging out in the top 10. And there was another Canadian city, I don't have it at my fingertips, that just entered the top 10 the other day. And there's two Canadian cities in the top 10 of the cities listening to the show. So thank you guys very much. And so we got a lot to get to tonight.
Yes, we do.
Got a lonely bachelor in England killing for company and flushing his guests down the loo. Should be a good one, Chris.
Yeah, bro. Let's get a murder on.
Fucking Creator, man. The new Creator.
Live shit? Hell yeah.
Holy shit. And that particular song, Phobia, is a song that got me into Creator. I was talking to Joey in between segments here that, when I first started listening to Creator and heard the Live Creation album, that version of that song is so fucking awesome. And it's cool on the album they used the studio recording, but the live version of it I really like. It's kind of like Whole Lotta Rosie with AC/DC. Right. If you've ever heard that live, it's so amazing with the crowd singing along with it. And it's cool on that album, but it's not the same as the live one to me. And that's another song that really got me into listening to like hard rock, But the live feel of that song and Creator doesn't disappoint with the quality. Either the recording quality is fucking incredible. So definitely digging on that. And the tie to the story tonight, because that's a song that they recorded in London, England. And, of course, we're talking about a London killer here tonight, guys, with Dennis Nilsen. He's a Scottish killer, but he did his murders in London. So he's kind of a transplanted Scotsman. I'm sure London was happy about that.
I bet they loved it. Yeah, man, we got our own fucking problems. Why?
We should have stayed up there, motherfucker. A very dark 5-year period from 1978 to 1983. And this would be, Peter Vronsky. We did that interview, Chris, with him, and he always referred to that golden age of the serial killer, which would be that,
like
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. That era there's just been so many of them. It just seems like an explosion. I guess they say
there's like at least 1,000 of them around. And you just can't find them.
They're not
for
caught,
whatever reason.
Yeah, but Joey, wouldn't you agree that era? Yeah. 60s, 70s, 80s. Definitely that would be it, man.
It's like, they're constantly more and they're active at all times. But I think the sensationalism that brought him into the spotlight back then was a big thing because, people realizing that the person next door could be killing 5-6 people.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And all of a sudden people's minds were just taken to a totally different, darker place. And then as people got more interested, maybe more fascinated with it too. Probably.
Right.
I'm never going to say that, media and everything that creates a killer, but I do feel that there are a certain few of them that definitely like let their obsessions with that stuff get the better of them, and they
Right.
probably had it in them already. So.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, like you go, especially 70s and 80s, like holy shit! If you just look
Yeah.
Like all the names
Yeah,
are from the
and
70s.
the way
the
that
big
they
names
created
ones,
it,
yeah.
like, you got one that's a fucking clown, that
Right.
had bodies in his basement. You got
Yeah.
Cannibal. Fucking,
right. You got the Night Stalker. I mean, those just the thought of shit like
Yeah,
that is
just
so
horrible.
scary.
Yeah, for sure, dude, for sure. So definitely, I would agree with Dr. Vronsky on that. Vronsky's got a new book too. Definitely wanting to get a hold of him, see if he wants to come back on and talk about it.
Shit, yeah.
He's got a new one just came out. Nilsen's story is similar to many of the other killers we've talked about before. I mean, definitely fucked up mom relationship. Another one of those, and a dark and disturbing obsession with death, which is really fucking eerie, man, at a very young age.
I understand how he got that feeling.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes Nilsen a case study, really, in serial murder. And we were joking around about the kindly killer thing earlier, but that was one of his nicknames. And it's funny because in that quiz, I'm like, kindly killer? I'd never heard of that before. And I'm been doing the research on Nilsen, and I saw that I recognized his picture in that quiz.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, it's not him, because surely I would have seen that. And so looking at an old woman, and I'm like, it's probably her, the kindly killer. And
I
sure
did the
enough,
exact same thing.
I was like, serious.
Cashman was over there when I was trying.
I'm still butthurt about
Maybe
it, man. I
wasn't
brought it up twice
Nilsen.
now. I should have got them all right.
There was one that I missed. I don't think it might have been him, but I don't
Kindly
remember.
killer. Yeah, that one totally threw me. So that's kind of funny. Chris, of course, we both knew about Nilsen before, we got ready to do this, but did you find out anything like out of that you didn't know about him when you did some watching and listening?
Nothing major that I can think of, like off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
I mean, there were certain things I heard, and I was like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck's going on, dude?"
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these ones, the lesser known ones like Nilsen, I think that, we might know some of the highlights or lowlights, however you want to look at it. But you don't
Right.
know, like, how you get from point A to point B, and this dude's flushing bodies down the toilet. But Joey, I mean, it goes way beyond that. I mean, he was putting them in the floor and
Right.
doing all kinds of crazy shit.
I mean, he was saying, figuring it out as he went.
Yeah.
Oh, he's definitely trying to figure it out as he went.
He was definitely like honing his craft. I
Right.
mean, he was getting good at it, except the body parts in the toilet thing was just not going to work with a residential grade, service.
Dude, can we stop real quick? Sorry, my head is not in the game. My phone's going off. My kid's mom just tried calling. Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
When my daughter's mom is calling me, and then my dad tries calling me, and then my mom tries calling
Right.
me all at the same minute, I'm like,
Yeesh.
something's wrong with my kid.
Yeah.
And it sounds like she might have broke her arm. So
All right. Well, that's
I
not
kind
good
of-
that it's a broken arm, but
no,
like you
but
were
at the
thinking,
same-
it
at
could have
the-
been like
right,
really
with everything
like,
going
super,
on. I'm like
super bad
freaking
stuff.
out, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Right.
But
Good.
all right, let's get back to business, boys.
Yeah, right? Talking some Dennis Nilsen, man. Born in 1945, Scotland, in a fishing community. He would have been raised at a time when my parents were raised. So you're talking the 1950s, which would be
Right.
that wholesome, white bread, nice,
Man,
two kids and a dog and a fence around, that whole thing, right?
It didn't really sound like that island was very freaking nice, though, to me.
It did seem pretty nice. I mean, his upbringing wasn't terrible, except that he had some mom issues, and he felt very cast out, felt kind of always the outsider. We see that a lot with these guys as they feel, like they don't fit in anywhere. And a lot of them don't. They're, odd. There's something off about them, and that tends to make people not want to hang out with you, right?
Welcome to my life.
So his father was a Norwegian soldier who wasn't around much at all, and so he's basically raised by a single mother at a time when that was kind of frowned upon. So I'm sure, that wasn't easy. And he was the second of three. He did have an older brother and then a younger sister, but he's a very quiet kid, doesn't seem to fit in. But he did really, really take, and I'm sure you guys probably saw that with his maternal grandfather. Really, Joey really seemed to like him a lot, and they did a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
Seemed to almost take the place of his dad, in a way.
Which would make sense. I mean, if that's who's basically raising you as a father figure, that's your father figure.
Sure, and there's a lot of kids that are raised by grandparents today, and it's unfortunate. Sometimes it's for negative reasons or whatever the reason is, but grandparents that step up and deal with that are pretty awesome. And so that was cool, and so he really hangs on to his grandfather and referred to him as his hero and protector later in life. His mother didn't show much attention, though, and the grandfather is obviously the one. But Chris, the grandfather's health is on the decline, I read, in 1951, and he dies of a heart attack while he's out fishing.
Out at sea,
the North Sea. So he's only 62, and so Dennis is just fucking wrecked.
Dennis was super young, too, like 6 or 7. I don't remember
exactly.
Yeah,
he was like 6 or 7,
7, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the way they he found out that his grandpa had died is super fucked up.
Oh my
dude.
God! I know,
Could
Joey. Did you see this too? The way he found out the grandfather
can't remember
died.
Off top right
Chris,
now.
Like
did
they
you
just
want to?
he came into the house and they basically asked him if he wanted to see his grandfather.
Right.
And he walks in and his grandfather's dead in a fucking wooden box, and that's how he finds out. He had no idea. 6 years old. Like,
that's fucked.
Holy shit, dude!
Yeah, what a shitty fucking way. If you could have looked up a list of ways to tell a child their grandparent
that
is
your
dead,
hero is dead,
that would be at the bottom of the fucking
That's
list.
fucking-
Like, hey, you want to see your
so
grandfather?
fucking
Oh,
stupid.
check him out. He's motionless in this box. What the fuck?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
I mean,
dude.
that's awful.
Then,
So
it
he
fucking
has
just
this
crushed him,
really
dude.
warped sense of death
you would
and
have
obsession.
To think that's super traumatizing because the last time you saw somebody they're alive and it's somebody you care about, and all of a sudden
They just ask if you want to see
Right.
him. He's home. Here he is.
But it's also like it's hard to tell. Like over in that area back then, it was that commonplace. Like, oh, he died. That's just the next thing that happened.
It's possible. I mean, it's a different era and a
that's what I'm
different,
saying.
world, so to speak. So it's very
just
possible,
weird, 'cause
Joey.
it's like, how do you get to that point where everybody in the house is like, oh yeah, just bring him in here and show him real fast? Like,
Yeah, that is pretty fucked up.
Yeah, and it could be, the fishing trade. I mean, that's a rough trade, and a lot of those dudes do die at sea or never found.
Yeah, like
I mean,
whole
some crazy
fucking
shit.
Families because they're on the same boat and shit.
Well, sure. So, I mean, it could be, Joey would bring a very valid point to the table, man.
but
It
at
could
the
be
same
just more
time,
commonplace.
You would just think as a humanitarian that somebody that's a kid.
A kid at that age, too, 5 or 6.
Yeah, that
like,
can't
really?
be good for the head.
God damn. So, the way the mother dealt with that was just terrible. She's not this abusive type of mother that I had read or seen, but she's not a prostitute, Chris, making him watch and all sorts of fucking crazy shit.
It's kind of not there, sort of.
Yeah, she's just kind of absent, just not really involved with him. She wound up having more kids with another guy, so her time was spread thin. She had like 6 or 7 kids. Didn't seem like he fit in at all. Felt, pretty sad, really, when you watched a lot of this shit. Like, God damn. It seems like his relationship with his mother would definitely impact his life, feeling outcast. Right. And there was one documentary I watched that was specific to that issue. It was Killers and Their Mothers or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was really good. And it totally talked about that and how he felt very outcast and always not good enough, because the way he was treated by her. So pretty fucked up, but it is sad. The death of the grandfather, after that he becomes more withdrawn. He doesn't participate in family events. And he kind of resents the older brother, Olaf. I don't know if you guys saw anything about that, but that didn't seem to be a very good relationship he had with his brother. They seem pretty shitty toward each other.
That's
mostly
sibling
Olaf,
rivalry,
though.
man.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You know all about brothers, that's for sure. Dennis spent most of his time playing with his younger sister, Sylvia. She was apparently the only family member that he was close with after his grandfather had died. I did watch a couple documentaries about him that said he would try to drown himself, wishing he could be with his grandfather.
Yeah,
I mean, like he would just like throw himself out at sea and just hope he would
I
fucking
hope he
drown.
wouldn't come
Like,
back. That's fucking
what
crazy.
the
I didn't see
fuck?
that, but Jesus.
Yeah, really, really fucked up. Joey, you saw that?
Yeah, I did see that. It's fucking.
Yeah.
As a young kid, like, I don't know, that's fucking creepy and
It
sad,
is.
really.
It is. Now, Chris, we've talked about other murderers who've had traumatic events like this in their childhood. I mean, Son of Sam is one I could think of that was recent that had, the death of his mother, and then his birth mother, then his mother, or one of the two, but it was like one after the other.
His mother and then his birth mother.
Yeah, so I mean, that shit, it fucks with people,
I mean, I couldn't even imagine, like, I'm going to tell you what, especially being that young, it would seriously fuck me up. But I tell you what, when something happens to one of my parents at the age I am, I'm going to freak out for a minute. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, dude, it's normal.
Like, for real.
Yeah, no.
It's going to be fucked.
Yeah, no, it for sure is. Dude.
I'm not going to go on a killing spree or no bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's
like that.
good. Thank you. The 15
right.
people
like,
after.
Hold on,
thank you
let
too,
me
right?
come back to this. Hold on. Like, I ain't going to go out and start murdering. Maybe.
Well, that's good. But like Joey with Nilsen, it seems like you're just checking the boxes with him, man.
Right.
Withdrawn, kind of picked on a bit, just not treated well. The older brother, kind of a bully. It just seems so many of these things that we hear about with these guys,
He also, like, his male role model, his dad gone off the bat. Fucking
Right.
latches onto his grandfather, who he
Right.
loves, and probably a strong male presence.
Yeah.
And then he
A
passes.
positive, good
Right.
presence in
He
his life.
passes. And then, like, so then you lose your male role models.
Right.
Your last case scenario, you got the mother to fall back on who hasn't really been there. She's still not there.
Right.
Or an older brother that you think, like,
Right.
hey, you're supposed to protect
and
me.
he ain't
and
looking
shit.
out
Yeah.
for him. And so, yeah, it's just like you can kind of see where a kid in that age of adolescence, especially too in development, it's like all of a sudden you can see why they would want to create harm maybe
Right.
to others because they just can't find love anywhere they try. So
Right.
they're getting taught that hate and,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
made up.
It
I
is.
definitely
It's
feel
fucked
like
up.
he got shaped as he went because of all these
Yeah,
events.
I agree, man.
I believe you.
I agree. Now, in 1955, Dennis Nilsen is on a beach by himself. He's dragged out to sea by a strong undercurrent. He later claimed that he had visions of his grandfather coming to save him, and then he's saved by a boy who saw it happen. And then he would also say years later that when he first had his homosexual fantasies was when he was at the beach. There was one I heard where he has this fantasy, he's pulled out to sea, and then this older boy wakes him up, and he's got something sticky on his chest. Like,
that's kind of gross.
okay, thanks. So, not sure what's up with all that, but
That's
definitely
kinda
pretty
gross.
fucked up. So there's another, one with the killers we talk about, Chris, having issues, being homosexual at a young age, at a time that was not acceptable by most people. So
Well, yeah, like you say, like at the time it wasn't acceptable by almost everybody,
Right.
And then also being from that fishing village or
Right.
fishing town, like all the dudes there, they're like straight up manly men. Like, no,
Yeah.
that ain't happening in our town,
right.
And I'm sure that had he grown, lived longer and grown up with his grandfather longer, I'm sure he might have been worse because his grandfather would have disliked that in himself. Honestly,
You
I
would
feel
think.
that.
You would think it would be rare to find somebody accepting of that in that era.
Right.
Today's is a completely different situation. So yeah, I mean it's crazy. Now, Joey, do you think serial killers that we know of that are homosexual that act out? Do you think it's like repressing that, or it just seems like we've got Gacy, Dean Coral, Dahmer. I always wonder, since so many of the killers that we talk about are actually homosexual or at least bisexual, it seems that, it's a larger percentage of the killers are homosexual than would be to the rest of the population. And I just wonder, do you think that, or do you think I'm off, or?
I don't know. I think it's hard to tell. I think there's also like so many serial killers that we don't even talk about, that are classified as them.
Sure.
That could get peppered in. I'm sure the ratio would get changed.
Yeah, that's true.
The homosexual aspect, I think is also part of like whenever they were saying the golden age, because back then, since it was so looked at so differently,
right.
It's like, oh, these serial killers, they're coming out of the homosexual era, you
right.
know, and gays did kind of get a bad rap for that too.
Oh,
like,
we'll talk about it in this case because they were all over that angle in Britain. Of that's why this is here and all this shit.
So obviously that was the thought process at one point in this country too.
Sure.
But I also feel like, so you got like two elements though. You got Gacy who, like you were saying, maybe repressing feelings. He doesn't want to be fucking gay.
Yeah, he gets all hostile if you bring it up.
Right. He knows, like, he has a wife and he had a family and he did all that shit. But obviously his urges with men were too strong because, you know, he gave in to them to the point where he had to destroy his evidence.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
And I do feel that he was very upset with that factor of it and that contributed to it. Jeffrey Dahmer, on the other hand, I think it's a different situation. Now, while I know that he had issues with his parents growing up with, they weren't, you know, pro homosexuality, I guess you would say. Even his dad, till the end, was like, it wasn't something that we would have agreed with in our home.
Right.
But with Dahmer, I think, even though he did have those issues growing up, I feel like probably most gay men at that time had the same issues, so you can't say that's what caused him to become what he did.
Right.
But Dahmer was openly gay. He went to the gay bars and indulged, and
he did do that.
He used that as his weapon, as his catalyst to get those guys back.
Sure.
So I don't think that he was ashamed that he was a homosexual in that sense. So both of them, yes, I would say, Gacy's bisexual. He was homosexual, you know.
Right.
I would say that they were in the same category, but I feel like Gacy acted on repressed urges, where Dahmer used it to his advantage and
to lure him away.
Right, and he probably, you know, you got to understand too. Dahmer was probably in an area like of Milwaukee and the gay downtown that was more accepting. Gacy was never in a spot probably where he lived that was okay.
Yeah,
no,
more
that's
suburban
true.
area.
Yeah, for sure. So very, very good points there, definitely. And as he's hitting puberty, the homosexual thoughts are consuming him with guilt. He finds himself attracted to young boys who remind him of his little sister Sylvia, which is fucked up.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. So I mean, he says that at times he would fondle her, believing that maybe he was mistaking homosexuality for an attraction to his sister, which I don't even know what the fuck to say about that. He would later say it may have been an indication that he was bisexual. But it's like, dude, no, like, it's all wrong. Like, well, the homosexual, that's up to you, but, you know, not with your sister in any context is wrong. Dude, what the fuck?
Shit.
You shouldn't even be having that conversation.
If you're bisexual, fine, but not with your sister.
At the same time, he's struggling with his homosexual urges or whatever.
Because they look like his sister.
Like his sister, who's a girl.
And that's so
it's
fucking
all fucked
weird.
up. I don't think I've ever heard anything like this before. It's like crazy, but... Chris, I mean, here we go. I mean, the Brits, even with the Springer episode. Springer goes to London, man. Holy shit, what the fuck with this dude, man?
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up shit.
His older brother, Olav, suspected Dennis was gay and made fun of him in public about it. He called him hen, or a hen, which was Scottish slang for a girl. Dennis is tired of dealing with everything and wants to leave and join the army. Can't fucking blame him. God damn. Nothing's going right.
Old.
Yeah.
At fucking 15 years old. The fact he was able to join the army at 15 back in the day, like, what?
Yeah, right. The family was poor, and he figured the odds were better enlisting in the army and seeing some of the world, and instead of those closed-minded people in that fishing town in Scotland. So he wants to get the fuck out. Can't say you blame the guy. His school grades were above average, but he didn't go on to college or anything. He enlisted in the Army in 1961 as a chef, and he thrived in that environment. I've seen a lot of guys in the Army that were like complete fuck-ups on the outside that locked the fuck in on that very regimented schedule and fucking crushed it. Yeah, they were really good in that kind of environment, you know.
That's fucking crazy.
But people that are more like outside the box or like the creative types, have a very hard time with that kind of shit. So it's very interesting. And he locked in, and he did very well with that. He had, some awards. Of course, he learned how to use knives, cutting meat, and all that. He loved, being in the military, and I don't know if it was because there was dudes around him 24/7.
Oh, I
and that
think it was.
probably a big part of it, showering and all of that. And I did read something where he showered by himself because he didn't want him to see his fucking hard on, in the shower. So he was probably smart to, do that by himself, and would said he would masturbate in the shower and all that sort of stuff. So
fun shit.
Yeah, good times.
I mean, isn't that where you're supposed to masturbate?
That's what the drain's for.
Right, duh.
So Joey, like Aaron Hernandez, I think we see Nilsen in a real aversion to outing himself for fear that he won't be accepted. And when you think of it too, both him and Hernandez would have been in a hyper-masculine type environment, one in the military, one, of course, in professional sports, but, very difficult in that kind of crowd, especially at this time in the, 50s and 60s to come out as being gay. So, I mean, I'm sure, again, we keep talking about this, but I think it's an important part of the story because it seems like that just keeps, brewing at the surface. Among other things, that is like a real issue with him.
Right.
And you could see why. Now, he would claim that he would pretend to be drunk and pass. I thought this was fucked up at parties in hopes somebody would molest him.
Yeah, did he just lay out at these parties naked with his junk and ass out? Come on, please, tonight's the night. I mean, that part of the story,
so fucking sad, man. Who's the guy in the corner with his pants down? I don't know.
Dude, I don't know. Maybe I should go touch him.
You know what's scarier
what the fuck?
I bet he had a success rate.
Oh, I'm sure.
I bet you there was a success rate.
It's like those Nigerian Prince emails, man. There's got to be some people going for that shit, Got to be a couple people stopping off and hitting that ass. I don't know, man. It's fucked up.
Yeah, but the fact that he thought that would it's you know what I'm gonna do tonight? I'm just gonna lay around all acting like I'm wasted and just hope
somebody rapes me.
Somebody rapes me. What the fuck?
He concocted all sorts of strange ways to masturbate. I thought this was fucking insane, man.
Yeah.
Even went as far as to do it in front of a tall mirror where he couldn't see past him, so it looked like he was having sex with somebody else. And
it's still your hand, though.
Yeah, it's so fucked up. And he would say this was his way to split his personality in his fantasy world. And he had sex with a prostitute, but found it to be a female prostitute, found it to be a negative experience. But then he was bragging to his friends about it, of course, because he wants to be one of the guys. Right. It's the Army. But it's just not working for him. He decides to leave the Army in 1972 after 11 years, though, and he got to the rank of corporal, which was actually where I was when I got out after 4 years when I was doing my Army bit. So, Chris, I see that Nilsen was deployed into areas of the Middle East, and he did see some dead bodies, and I'm sure with his whole past with the dead, man, I'm sure that didn't help.
Yeah, he's pretty obsessed. He would paint his face up and shit.
Yeah.
Like black metal?
Yeah, straight up corpse paint, dude. Straight up black metal corpse paint, and just lay there looking like he's dead. What the fuck, man?
Pretty fucked up shit with him.
I gotta be a dead guy.
Yeah, very, very odd and creepy motherfucker, that's for sure. Now, Joey, he wants to be a police officer. We see this a lot with the serial killers. Again, I mean, we've been doing the show, guys. This is episode 99, so you think we've done a lot of cases. And some of these ones, whether we featured them or talked about them, we've, it's become part of our discussion. But Kemper, Gacy, BTK, all into the cop thing.
Yeah,
what is that, Joey? Is it a power thing with them, a superiority?
Sure partly that, and I'm sure also to a lesser degree, a few of them it's going to give them an open window into seeing how the investigations are going and all that.
Right?
Oh,
exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine? I've never ever heard it happening, but. A killer assigned to his own case,
that would be
where
pretty
somebody's
fucked up.
following a case, and then it turns out that the detective was actually the fucking killer there.
Yeah,
that's a good movie idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
idea.
So yeah, it's definitely very reminiscent of a lot of these other stories we talk about with the cop thing. Dennis gets into a major fight with his brother after watching a documentary about male homosexuality. I mean, what the fuck? Olaf tells his mother about Dennis being gay, and the shit gets fucking crazy. Another Springer episode here. Dennis never speaks to his brother Olaf again, and Dennis's mother's upset and that he's gay again at a time when this was not understood by people. So he says fuck it and moves to London to join the Metropolitan Police. So he's just like,
fucking, I'm out of here. Fuck
going
y'all,
to Scotland
bitches.
Yard, man. Fuck you
Right,
guys.
hell yeah.
So Nilsen completes his police training in 1973 and does have some success. It doesn't surprise me if he was doing well in the army.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely knew about the discipline and the rigors of that. He missed the camaraderie of the army, though, he says. He began to hit the London gay bars, but finds the search for other men mindless and soul-destroying, he said, and, quote, a waste of time. So he starts the drinking, Joey, big time.
Big time boozing.
Yeah, big time, to the point where he's just out of control. He talks about, at times later in the story, about when he was having to cut the corpses and take the entrails out and stuff, how he would get so blinded drunk that he just he could deal with it because it was so fucking disgusting.
You know who else talked about that kind of shit?
What's
Jeffrey
that?
Dahmer.
Really?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because he would be
sure.
super drunk too, and he
Yeah.
would black out, wake up, and have to deal with half his mess being done.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot I did
that's
that.
fucked.
But no, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
there are some parallels with these.
There's a
for
lot
sure.
of parallels with him, and that's why as I dug more into this, I know you and Chris both definitely know a lot about Dahmer, but I knew that I could see a lot of hints of that. I was hoping that would come out in our conversations because he's drinking heavily. He resigns from the police. He winds up taking a job as a security guard for a while, and then he becomes a civil servant working as like a manager of like a job center.
Right, like manpower.
Like a manpower type of thing. He got some money in an inheritance, £1,000 from his birth father, and he rents a larger apartment to live in with a man that he had met, David Gallican. I think that's how you pronounce that. The two began to fight and sleep in separate beds. So that didn't last very long. Short honeymoon there with those two.
It's gonna happen sometimes, man.
Right? It was 1977 when Nilsen threw Galligan out of the apartment. And he would go the next 18 months with a few short relationships, but none that really worked out. Just very depressing. Drinking more, listening to a lot of music like 70s, like prog type
progressive
rock, just
music.
really weird. Some of it really fucked up. Some of it I'm familiar with Tommy and some of the stuff he was listening to, but some of it not so much. Really weird shit. Chris,
And he was into the music too.
really, yeah, with headphones, like really getting into it.
Like that was his. He could control it.
Yeah, and that was the
Basically.
one survivor talked about, that they would listen to music with headphones, and then he would come like
up
right up on him, and
yeah.
he was like, "Whoa,
What the fuck's going on?"
What the hell?" And that's when he put him in the fucking sleeping bag and shit. It's pretty fucked up. But Chris, it's like he is getting ready to kill. I mean, this is like a fucking cauldron, fucking bubbling here. What do you think was like the fucking like the spark that fucking just set him the fuck off?
I think he got tired of not having company, I guess.
Yeah.
Just
He
'cause
was
the
very
way-
lonely, man.
was
He just
lonely and
really
everybody-
wanted some.
Nobody stayed with him.
Yeah, and the ones he
So-
liked, he did have that guy. We'll talk about him later. That
Right.
ongoing relationship, a kind of on again, off again type thing.
But yeah, he's just tired of being lonely. He was tired of people leaving him, so instead of them leaving him, he dispatches them
Right. Yeah.
in the wrong
Good
kind
way
of way.
putting it. Yeah. Joey seemed pretty, obviously very depressed, and we've been talking about him and Dahmer, and I don't think you really could tell this story without referencing Dahmer, because I mean it's very eerily similar in a lot of ways. He was also very charismatic in that he could get them to come back to his apartment, and Dahmer was the same way. So they're both, I think, similar that way, is that they were able to be sociable enough that they could talk to somebody to get them to come back to that place. I know with Nilsen, it was more the homeless. I know there were guys that were on down and out,
right.
Offer them a place to
Like
stay and some
transients and
alcohol.
whatnot.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
you're not going to find too many dudes that are probably not going to take you up on that.
Like,
Even
yeah,
if they're
I got
not
you,
gay, they're just like, I need a place to fucking stay. You know?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And not expecting some motherfucker, to come up behind you and, knock you over the head or
you would
whatever.
never expect that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going to go have a good time, drink some
Right.
booze, listen to some tunes. Fuck yeah, dude.
Exactly. So he killed a minimum of 12 men and boys from 1978 to 1983. He initially admitted to 16 victims to the police when he's caught, but there were some that couldn't be identified. Majority of the victims were homeless, as I mentioned, or, many of them homosexual. Though some of the victims were heterosexual, he had met in bars or elsewhere in London. He lured the victims to North London, where he was living in an apartment. And he did live, Joey, I saw in two different places,
yeah.
which the way he was getting rid of the bodies at one was different than the other. And it's really crazy how he changes it up.
Yeah.
You don't typically see that with killers, but I think with him, he just didn't have access to the backyard like he did at the first place. We're going to get into that, but I thought that was kind of interesting with the two different disposal methods of getting rid of the bodies. He was getting kind of clever and getting inventive and like dealing with what he had available, which was, in the second place, not much.
Right. Well, and I mean, as far as like, starting to dismember the bodies and stuff, at least he had that, he had done that in the military. As a chef,
right?
He had learned how to cut.
Yeah,
it's like Catherine Knight with her knives and working
for sure,
in the,
dude.
Yeah, like for
very,
real.
That's a very good analogy for sure. Very, very interesting. How he lured them out and promise of alcohol, somewhere to stay. Psychiatrists would say he was very cunning, and he would have been able to convince these guys because he would have come across as very sincere. Pretty average looking guy, not intimidating or anything. So I think that was his thing.
He had.
He was well spoken.
That's what I was going to say.
Dumbass.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
He killed the victims by strangulation, which was usually a ligature that involved a piece of rope tied to a necktie. I thought it was kind of weird. They showed some in one of the documentaries I saw. They showed examples or the real thing, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, I think it was this last one I watched. Yeah, it's like, wow, that's fucked up looking. Like it just seemed like an odd combination, but it worked. I mean, obviously, it was long enough where he could do what he had to do.
That's what I'll tell you. What I'm going to get a piece of rope, and that's what I'm going to do with the tie from the wedding.
There you go. So he would, strangle these victims, but we've talked about this before, guys, and Chris, the up close and personal killers, man. It's like a whole different fucking thing when that's going on, man.
I feel like they want to feel that, though.
Yeah.
They want to feel that life coming out of them.
Yeah, that's the
I am
really
the
fucked
baddest
up.
but
I mean, they're all fucked up, but like a Son of Sam, you're 6 feet away.
Right, you're pulling the trigger,
Zodiac,
Yeah.
But these guys, I mean, this is,
He's
a
like
whole
right there
different
on
level.
him, like wants to feel it.
Yeah. His first victim was a 14-year-old boy. He strangled him with a necktie because he didn't want to be alone for New Year's Eve, which was fucked up. Drowned him also in a bucket to be sure he was dead, and then he buries him under the floorboards. And he would bury a few bodies under the floorboards. I think that one cop said there were 6 at one time. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, talk
a
about
fucking
a
apartment,
fucking
dude.
smell. Like, didn't the whole fucking place like reek of
You would
fucking
think,
dead
like,
bodies?
I'm pretty
like,
sure he was on the first floor apartment too.
I'm not sure at the first place. I know the second place he was in the attic.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that would have even been worse,
Yeah.
like,
that
oh
heat.
my God, that's just nasty, man.
And then you got like body fluids draining through the floorboards.
Well,
through the
yeah,
roof of the
he had him
ceiling of the-
wrapped in like carpet or something,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still, I mean, not enough to keep the smell out. That's for
No,
sure.
hell no.
It was really nasty. I can't even imagine. And then he talks about, if you watched any of the one-on-one interview he did with that one reporter, it was a few years after the killings. It was very fucking weird because he's talking about this part of it with the smell. And he realized that what was causing the smell was the inner organs and the soft tissue part.
Right.
So when he would get drunk enough, he would open up the floorboards and take a body out, put it on his kitchen floor, and fucking gut it. But he had to be drunk enough to fucking deal with it. And I'm just like, that is so fucking disgusting.
I've been pretty fucking drunk, bro, but goddamn.
And then to put it back in the floor too, like, dude, like, get rid of this fucking thing. Like, Jesus. Yeah, that is so fucking disgusting. The smell just had to be absolutely insane. But Joey, did you see the interview?
I did see that, and I mean, you know, his explanation of it was pretty like eerie too, just the but
so nonchalant.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he was pretty matter of fact about it, but it was like, we keep bringing it up at the parallels with him and Dahmer. It's like, man, a lot of that shit just seems to be the same way that Dahmer tried to go about it too. And you know, the thing is, they were both seemed like they were trying to keep them with them,
right? Keep the body with them.
You know, it's fucking crazy too, because it's like, you know, Nilsen did his crimes, and Dahmer was like, he definitely had like newspapers and reading materials about other serial killers.
Yeah. It wasn't like he could get the information we do.
Right, but he was really into it, though. So I can't help but wonder if Dennis Nilsen was like...
Because the book Killing for Company came out only a couple of years after, so it would have been the mid-'80s that it came out.
And like Dahmer, he killed his first victim in 1978, but, you know, he didn't craft like how he was doing it until he got to Milwaukee.
Right.
The one in Ohio, I mean, that was definitely the one that fucking opened up the floodgates. But it
wasn't. When did he start the Milwaukee killings? When would that have been?
I want to say it was like 82 or 83 was the first one. It was somewhere in there. So like, yeah, Dennis Nilsen would have just been, you know, sensationalized within at least, you know, the last 5 years or whatever.
Right.
So I can't imagine that he didn't know.
You would think
check this
it's a good possibility.
And
very
he's
good
like,
possibility.
oh, this is kind of my life right now.
Just so many similarities, but
yeah, and there's also like, you know, putting them in the liquid or the drums.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
But both of them seem to feed, you know, Dennis Nilsen especially too. It's like they wanted somebody there with them.
Right.
Killing a 14-year-old kid on New Year's because you want somebody there with you.
Right.
Stephen Hicks, I don't know, he was 17 or whatever, but he wanted to leave, and Dahmer's like, no,
you can't leave.
Yeah,
it's
fucking creepy.
It is. It's fucked. He's really into photography, and he got a Polaroid camera and started using it. Right, Dahmer did that too.
100%.
To take pictures of the bodies in various posed positions. He would wash them and dress the bodies up, posing them in chairs, or would sleep with them in the bed for days or weeks.
Dude,
before he'd bury him under the floorboard. No, I can't say I've done that one, Chris. One body he kept out in the cupboard until it started to bloat, and he was unable to shut the door. What the fuck? He had to put him under the floor with the rest. He would use deodorants and spread them under the floor to try to help with the smell, and the bug spray to try to cover up the smell, but
nothing covered it up.
My God, Chris, could you even imagine living next to this motherfucker, man? Jesus.
I mean, I have to say this place smelled worse than Heidnick's.
Probably. I mean, we've talked about some stinky fucking situations, but my God, like, this is...
I just burned Heidnick's saying I just burn a roast. This is just like, I got multiple dead bodies everywhere.
6 bodies at one time.
People all around him.
Yeah, like he's in an apartment.
All around him. It's not like he's in some farmhouse in Plainfield.
Right.
We're talking about an apartment, you know. It was 1980. Nilsen starts stepping up the frequency of the killings. He would sometimes sit on the dead bodies and masturbate. This dude is fucking whacked.
Oh, he's whacked for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All over it.
All over it.
In other cases, he would lay the body on his bed and lay naked next to it, listening to classical music and jerking off. Sometimes he would just lay there and burst into tears. The book I read about him, again, Killing for Company, the main reason for the murders was that he just wanted someone to stay with him, like you mentioned, Joey. This really does remind me of Dahmer, the whole need for companionship. And in the case of Nilsen, I mean, he was such a fucking narcissist, as our listener, Stacey Dudley from the UK, smartly points out. he was a fucking asshole in these interviews. I mean, he's just a total asshole.
Dickhead.
Just a total dick, total narcissist. Probably liked having, the comparison of, or a companion, I should say, and someone that couldn't talk, someone that couldn't respond. He just wanted to hear himself talk, The biographer, the guy that wrote the book, Brian Masters, said he never even listened when you talked. He just talked, and then if you responded, he just kept talking like you weren't even there. I mean, very odd to have a conversation with somebody like that,
I'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Right?
Dude.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm trying to say something, man.
Now, Joey, his narcissism was definitely out of control, and he really comes across like a total fucking douchebag, man.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. One thing I could say is, like, Dennis Nilsen, his attitude, Richard Ramirez with his attitude, those dudes are fucking pricks to begin with. Anything that they're going to say is going to be fucking just some bullshit. Right. But on the other hand, I like listening to their interviews way more than I can sit and listen to anything that Berkowitz has done.
Yeah, Berkowitz is annoying as fuck.
I would rather somebody who's narcissistic and fucking a little more dickheaded, but still, like, about what they did, than somebody who's just, like, trying to fucking place blame and or shift blame, I guess.
Right.
So, yeah, it's funny because basically you're dealing with a bunch of fucking dirtbags anyway in this whole line of...
Totally.
And this whole
so what do you expect?
Yeah, we're not talking about anybody that's anything ever any good. I mean, we're very seldom talking about people doing good things.
And it's funny because, like, somebody who I could probably sit down with and have, like, a regular conversation like me and you could sit at a table would be somebody like Ed Kemper.
Right.
From what I've seen, from what I've gathered from
totally.
interviews. But it's funny because he's one of the fucking most crazy, and he would... not that he was into dudes, but if he wanted to kill me, he could fuck me up.
Fucking destroy me.
But at the same time, that's the dude who I'd rather sit with and listen to hear talk.
Sure, agreed. Now, he has to finally start to do something because there's getting to be too many bodies. So he decides to burn them in the backyard.
Too many bodies.
Right.
He literally just had he was like, bonfire with bodies.
He's just like fucking he had access to the backyard. He threw some tires on there to help cover up the smell.
He's like, don't worry about it, I'm just burning tires. They're like, well, anything smells better than your apartment, bro.
Thanks. Boy, it smells great tonight.
Dude.
Wow, those burning tires.
It's a good year.
It sure beats those 6 fucking bloating fucking corpses in the attic.
Fucking dick.
Fuck yeah, thanks, dude. So you get this funeral pyre going on. He later would, say that he thought it was funny because there were neighborhood kids dancing around the fire.
Poking at the fire with a stick and shit.
Right?
He's like, tend that fire, boys. I got to go get some beer.
Just fucked up, man. So after it's all done, he, like, crushes it and make sure the bones, of course, he doesn't get rid of them, but he thinks, he's kind of done his thing.
Enough to where he's not.
There was like a skull. I think he wound up having to break it up into some pieces because it didn't burn all the way. So pretty fucked up shit. Mid 1981, he moves to 23. I'm just thinking of this guy burning these bodies in his backyard, like fuck it.
Yeah,
catch me, motherfucker.
Who'd we do? Bone Crusher from Peoria.
Oh, sure,
Larry Bright.
Yeah, Larry Bright, dude. Yeah, fucking same shit.
And that's what they at least said Stephen Avery did. Whether he did or not, is another story. But
also, Lake and Ing, they fucking had burn piles. From
that's true. That's true.
Dead cats, bro. It was dead cats.
Mid 1981, he moves to 23 Cranley Garden, so he's got to change it up. He's still killing, but now he's living in an attic apartment. He has no access to that backyard, or as the English would say, the garden. He now began to cut up his victims and flush them down the toilet to get rid of the evidence.
You know how much cutting you got to do to flush some shit down the toilet,
that's what I'm thinking.
Bro.
My God, especially, back in, the 80s, I mean, you got to think the plumbing isn't going to be like top shelf, and you're in a house. I mean, a commercial grade with like 6-inch.
Right, fucking.
That's a different deal, but you're talking about home plumbing. I mean, that is.
I guess it is the attic gravity, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. But there wasn't anybody in the middle apartment. That's how they were able to figure out it was him so easily,
Dude.
Because it got past the first floor. So they're like, okay, it's got to be coming from up. And he's the only one up.
Yeah, he's the only one there.
So so he's boiling the parts to try to help him separate it from the bone, of course, from his army training. Chris, this seems like an efficient way to get rid of bodies, but they start to do some clogging up of the plumbing. Liquid plumber is not cutting it, man.
I am going to just say that is not an efficient way to get rid of a goddamn body.
No. Well, what I was mocking, I
got it. Fucking, but yeah, like they were sitting here cutting it up into like 2-inch by like half-inch strips, dude.
Right?
Like, could you imagine filleting a person that much? And you got 6 of these. You got
I really
different
can't,
apartment, but yeah, like so much time, and like how much is he cramming down there at once? Like. What the fuck?
You got to think 6 bodies would take you quite some time to get rid of doing it that way. And so this just had to be consuming, and he's continuing to kill. And this is, at the time he moves into Cranley Gardens, he meets this Carl Stoddard, who was a very big part of the interviews in these documentaries you watch, because he's one of the survivors. By then, Nilsen had killed 12 already. So he's like, coming into this thing. He had left an abusive boyfriend. He meets Nilsen at this gay pub. Nilsen closes him up in a sleeping bag. I mean, the story he tells is fucking harrowing. He's drugged him, tries to drown him in a bathtub. Somehow he gets the fuck out of there alive. Nilsen actually has to do like mouth to mouth to bring him back, and then the guy's got this whole fucked up complex going on. Is he my savior or my my abuser?
He's like definitely your abuser.
Fucked up situation. He's just, you could tell just from the interviews. I mean, the dude is fucked up in the head over this. He talks about having a lot of drug and alcohol problems. Went to a rehab. Went to mental institutions. He's drugged up for years to repress it. I mean, it's really a sad story. But a lot of it reminds me of some of the Gacy stuff with that one guy that survived and talked about he was trying to drown him in the bathtub. I mean, pretty fucked up shit. Now, Joey, I saw that he had a dog named Bleep, which is kind of a funny name for a dog. I didn't see the dog seem to satisfy that need for company because he kept wanting to, kept on killing, man. The Bleep wasn't cutting it, man.
The thing, you were talking about Gacy too, with the tub thing, and something else that kind of reminds me of him as far as with that, Carl Stoddard was one of Gacy's boys that worked for him. I can't remember the case exactly, but he had assaulted him and fucked him up pretty good, but basically talked him out of it, saying that it was an accident or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
But he assaulted and fucked him up, and somehow he kept that under wraps. So yeah, it is kind of like the same kind of deal,
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities to this case to other things. He brought that guy back out of the
bathtub for whatever reason, and it's like, hey, I just saved your life.
Right.
Because you were drowning in the bathtub.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I know I was holding you under.
Yeah, exactly, Chris. It's like you're the fucking one holding him down. Jesus Christ. So his final victim was strangled with a necktie that Nilsen, found out after removing some bandages. The guy had been recently tried to kill himself by slitting his wrists. So this is just a weird situation. He'd been cranking the soundtrack of The Who's Tommy while this was all going on too, which is really weird.
Man, I love pinball.
I do too, but not while you're cutting up a body.
That would be a good conversation. What would the soundtrack to your dismemberment be?
Yeah, right.
That's a good conversation. Yeah. It really is.
Gallery of suicide, man.
Right.
He cut up the body and put it in trash bags in the bedroom closet until he would have time to flush the parts down the toilet. So, man, when you're having to work that into like your Google schedule, thing with cutting up the body, that's
your
you
soundtrack?
get like a notification that says, "Hey, Joey, at 4:00, you're supposed to
have a body
spend 2 hours to cut up a body." Thanks.
And listen to Faith No More as we care a lot the whole time.
There was a guy that Nilsen actually had a relationship with. This was what I was mentioning earlier. His name was Martin Hunter Craig. And they had a very casual relationship, kind of on and off again, but he was his only real friend. Again, very sad with this whole thing with him with friends. He's very, this guy was on a lot of the interviews I saw where the last documentary I watched, they had an extensive interview with him. Very interesting, how he was able to have a relationship with this guy who seemed fairly normal, but yet all this shit was going on, and how that guy didn't know about it. A lot of the media in Britain really beat him up over that. Pretty
Like, how
crazy
can you
story.
Not fucking know, dude.
Yeah, because he was there for 14 of the victims,
Right.
while that had gone on. Now, they didn't live together, and it was a casual type situation, so he didn't see him all the time.
Right.
But
At the
still,
same
that's
time, you
fucked
think
up.
that
14
fucking long.
fucking bodies. Man, that's fucked up. He refers to Dennis as Dez, so that was like a nickname, I guess. They did have a 4-year relationship. So again, 14 of the victims happened during that time. And he got a lot of flack for it in the press, again, at a time when gay
how many fucking kids
men
were
were
buried
very
in...
discriminated against.
Yeah, true. And how many fucking bodies are buried in Gacy's house while his family's living there? So
Yeah.
it's like,
Right.
it's like, how do you not know about these 14? How did she not know about 22 or
Right.
however many?
It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Fiction, is sometimes, or fact is stranger than fiction sometimes.
Sure.
Sometimes because it's that obvious, you don't know.
Yeah, because you live there, so
right.
it's like
Or
you're used to it.
Another strong instrument is denial.
Right.
Some people
Sure.
just
100% denial.
that's not what's going on.
Sure.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine it, but I think you're right, man. Now, as we've said before, the tenants at 23 Cranley Gardens were complaining about their drains and toilets not flushing.
I wonder why.
Yeah. The ironic thing is, on February 4th of 1983, Nilsen himself writes a letter to the landlord
See,
about the drains.
That's what's the fucked up shit. It's
I mean,
like,
that's
dude, you gotta
ballsy,
know
man.
why the drains are
like,
fucked up.
yeah.
I mean,
Dude,
you're
what the
doing this, right?
fuck? I mean,
it isn't your downstairs
he's not
neighbor's
an idiot,
shit.
but he is an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what? Unless he thought that they would never believe it was him
Or-
if he wrote the letter, maybe.
Or if he didn't understand how the process went, that they were
Yeah.
just going to flush the system.
Oh, sure.
And
Sure,
open it
or
up
would
for
not
him.
know it was him, not be able to tell it was coming from his house, apartment.
But I
maybe.
mean, maybe he thought that they never see the body parts at all.
True.
Like they just push them on somewhere and they're gone.
Right.
And open up a new fucking.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta wonder. Like Dahmer was looking at this like, I'm not gonna flush any body parts. I was gonna
Let's-
do that.
Yeah,
but
let's
now I'm
cross
not.
that off
Yeah.
the list of options. Yeah, Plan C, not a good one.
Because what happens? Right
Yeah,
here.
well, for sure. So it's amazing. The shit hits the fan. The plumber goes down. They show it on the documentary too. It's like this fucking manhole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pit.
like square fucking. It's
Yeah,
like
it's like a rung ladder. You're climbing
Yeah.
down. I've been down those before. They're not fun. Very, very tight, very constricting.
Luckily, no body parts in the ones you went in.
No, I did not see any body parts. But to imagine being like face to face with a drain coming from a main from a house.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like right
You're
there
like, I hope
with it,
nobody
like
flushes.
right
I hope
up
nobody
close
flushes. I
and
hope nobody
personal.
flushes.
And you're fucking scooping this out, and it
Yeah.
looks like a human hand and bones and shit. You're like, what the fuck? Definitely knew something was going on. And the interviews with that guy are almost funny because he's so like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's what we found today.
Yeah, it's just absolutely nuts. But Chris, I can't figure out what the fuck he wrote the letter for. If he was just that fucking pompous, I mean, what do you think, dude?
Oh man, I don't know. Like, look at fucking again. Look at BTK, like what he did with the floppy disk, like
Yeah,
and writing
that's
all
true.
the letters and shit. Like, oh,
Right?
they'll
You
never
can't
fucking
figure out
it
it's me, right?
Yeah, like,
oh
dude,
yeah, no, we
got
can't.
it.
That would go with his narcissism too.
Yeah,
True.
I would 100% go
Yeah,
with it. Yeah,
very true, very true. So the police are called by the plumber, who finds the body parts.
I thought it was funny that that when he was asked about it, he's looking in the thing. He said it looked like somebody was flushing their Kentucky Fried Chicken down the
so
fucking.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too.
He said,
That's what
like,
Nielsen
like
said.
That
Yeah.
doesn't
No.
look like KFC
No,
to me,
they don't
bro.
have hands. Yeah,
The cops are like, hey, can
chickens
you come
don't
look
have
over here?
hands, dude.
Yeah, like,
Chickens do not have hands. The
Cops
le-
are like, hey, we want you to take a look at this hole real quick. Like, you know something about this?
Yeah.
It's so weird, like how it went down. They're like,
Yeah.
we know it's you.
right,
it's
and he's
fucking
acting
weird.
all
Yeah.
aloof
Are
and
you
everything.
gonna try to talk it? Is it chicken?
Right. Now, the lead detective is Peter J. He's on a lot of the documentary stuff that I watched. They were sent to a mortuary, the body parts, where they were confirmed to be human. So during the night, Nilsen goes down the drain to remove as much of it as he could.
That's fucked up right there, too.
Yeah, but there's still more down there. He can't get all of it. So by the process of elimination...
The plumber or whatever, didn't they like sit there and watch him actually do it?
I
and
think
told
you're
the
right.
cops, like,
I think
look,
you're
man,
right. Yeah.
something shady.
What's fucked up is if you
I
have,
think you're right, yeah.
like, if this is a possibility of fucking bodies anyway,
right?
Why is that dude even still at his house that night? Like, I don't get that. Okay, we can't prove that they're body parts, but at the same time...
But at the same time, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Like, how was he even allowed just to be there and have the opportunity to go clean out more
You
shit?
would think. Yeah, that would have been like cops there for the night.
Exactly,
you know,
at least
for
that.
body
Even if you're
parts.
there
I mean,
more-
we're not talking
we're
about
gonna sit here and
a
talk to you until
stolen
we
bike.
get a warrant.
You know, we're
fucking-
talking about body parts in
Right.
the sewer, you know.
And I get it. Like I said, they had to test them to make sure they were human.
Right.
But get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Common sense didn't tell you those are probably human. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
don't
And
let
to
this
let
dude
him
back
come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked up. So by process of elimination, they're able to figure out it was him because the first floor, it went beyond that. There's nobody on the second floor. He's up in the attic, so he's the one, obviously. Police go to the second floor apartment. That's Peter J., the detective, with a couple other officers. And, you know, they go up there. And I don't know, Joey, if you watched on the docs about that cop, Peter J., that I mentioned, how he confronted Nilsen about it. Pretty interesting. Yeah. He was pretty forth, you know, right up in his face. I mean...
Right. That's what I was saying. It was almost like... we know exactly what's going on here.
Right.
We dare you to try to tell us something different.
Right.
But which also goes to my question of how he was able to have any kind of freedom that night at all.
Right.
Like you said, they were like, "Hey, guess what, buddy? Like,
yeah, we got drains in your pipes," and he's like, "Why are the cops interested in?"
And you got to think,
Right.
like, I'm pretty sure over there, that's like definitely not how the cops act towards like their criminals or stuff like that.
Right.
They like are polite to them because that's the way that their training goes. Or whatever.
No, he went right at him, man.
Yeah, and so
that's when he said, "Where's the rest of the body?" And Nielsen's like, "Oh, it's in the closet."
Right.
Yeah,
in the
just straight up
garbage
forward
bags.
about like.
And then here's another one over here in this little cupboard, and it's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I've done." And then I thought it was interesting on the ride to the police station where the other cop says, "So how many bodies are we talking about? One or two?"
And he's like, "Oh, more like 15 or 16."
Yeah. And they were like,
They're like,
"Oh
wait,
my
hold on."
God, you know, that's taking this to a whole different level." And I think it's very interesting because, you know, I mean, our cops here, I mean, we've seen the Green River Killer, we've seen some of these high body counts, but not in England. They didn't see something
Not
like
really,
this. I mean, this was I mean, it'd be shocking to anybody. Don't get me wrong, but to the people at Scotland Yard, 15 or 16 bodies, that's
From one
that's
person,
fucked, you know. So definitely crazy. And he offered up some strange comments when the police were asking him questions. He told the cops on the way to the station, you know, that he did want to confess. And when he did, they couldn't believe that he had murdered that many. I mean, 15 over 5 years, that's a lot. And there were 3 dead bodies of various states of decay that were actually in the apartment at the time of the arrest. They dug up the backyard at the first apartment building, and they went through the bone, sieve,
bunch of bones,
lots of bones, lots of stuff there. So, Chris, they were able to identify a lot of the victims from that, which is good.
Right.
Give these people some closure, you know.
Not everybody, but yeah, a lot of them got closure at least.
Yeah,
since
I
they
mean,
were
it's
able to figure it
awful,
out.
but at least you know it's over. So they found a lot of that stuff there. I'm sure they both of those apartments got tore up.
Yeah, after they found out what had happened in even the first apartment, like
They
they got to
probably
go
ripped
through
them
their
apart.
fucking like what else are we gonna find in here?
Yeah.
that is hidden in the floorboards and the
Right.
behind a cupboard or whatever. Like,
Yeah. And I was surprised to see that 23 Cranley Gardens had sold for $300,000 at some point. So I don't know if it was just that's the going rate, you know, for houses in that area or what, or if it was just the whole macabre nature of what
turned it into
happened
a
there,
thing.
you know, don't know. I didn't see anything about that. So it could be just, you know, they gutted it, they renovated it, and they sold it. You know, I mean, things happen. We know that murders happen all over the place, and people that own the property, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you have to clean it up and move on. You know, you recarpet and paint it up, and you hope that it'll sell, and or whatever. You know,
or if you're Jeffrey Dahmer, you get your whole apartment building
just destroyed.
Yeah, right.
Not just his apartment, all
the
of
entire
the whole
building
thing.
fucking gone.
Gacy's house fucking gone.
Right.
That's just an empty lot.
Yeah.
Ed Gein
burned to the
gone.
ground.
Nothing will ever go back on there. Yeah, it is. It's fucked up. Like somewhere over there, like you said, that house could hold its value and all that shit. In the U.S., it never happened because the best thing that can happen is somebody get turned into a tourist thing.
Right.
Otherwise, it's probably going to get demolished.
Leveled, yeah. He went through 30 hours of interviews with the police over many days. He told them in great detail what he had done. Even the victims who were unknown, Nilsen remembers how they died, when he cut them up to dispose of them, whether he was burning it in the backyard or flushed them down the toilet at 23 Cranley Gardens. So, I mean, the guy remembered it all. Nilsen told the police how he would bathe the bodies, apply makeup at times to cover up any blemishes, and dress them up in his clothes. And he would admire them. And even one, it said, quote, brought him to tears that he was so beautiful.
That's fucking crazy.
Yes.
Could you imagine what these fucking cops are saying?
What the fuck?
The British police just like,
are you kidding me?
I need a cup of tea.
Yeah, I need a drink. He also said that his masturbating at the side of the body before disposal was his way of saying goodbye to them. I mean, that's just nasty, man. Is he like waving goodbye in like jizz-soaked fucking hands? Or, I don't know, man. It's fucked up. Chris, this is some of the most twisted shit when you read these confessions. I mean, just absolutely over the top.
Yeah,
man.
it's a little fucking insane. The whole like jerking
with
off on
dead,
the body to say goodbye, but still at the same time, you just hung around with his body for days.
Right.
Like, so does that classify him as a freaking necrophiliac? Did he ever actually?
They refer to him as a necrophile, and that's the only sex I saw, and I didn't see anything beyond the masturbation part of it,
but no actual intercourse.
Not that I saw or read or saw any of that.
I didn't see any either. I just didn't know if you had seen anything.
No, I had not.
And he wasn't a cannibal either, right?
No, I don't believe so. I didn't see anything like that at all. He said he got no pleasure in killing any of them, and he only wanted them to stay. He did say that he, quote, worshiped the art and act of death, end quote. So October 1983 was brought to trial, claiming that he was not guilty, though. The court said he was sane and fit to stand trial. He was charged with 6 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder. And at the time in Britain, the police had 48 hours to charge him. So those were the victims that they could prove at that time. Some of the victims were not able to be identified based on the way that he burned and flushed them away. So it's unfortunate.
Could you imagine that's your last resting place, though? A fucking toilet.
That's horrible, man.
What the fuck?
Yeah. The British press, as I mentioned, were rough and claimed multiple times that Nilsen should have been caught earlier by the police. And the author of Killing for Company addressed some of those claims in his book. And it did seem that there were a lot of, arguments he made against that. So he kind of stands up for the police there. The press was also tough on Nilsen and the guy he had that relationship with for all those years because they were gay, and it was just bringing that into the conversation.
Being assholes about it.
Yeah.
So did he have an issue, Dahmer lost that kid, and then he got out in the streets and came up on him and told him it was a gay argument, even though he was an underage kid that was naked. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And then he took him back, and basically the cops gave him back, and he killed him.
Yeah,
right.
I do remember that.
So didn't somebody escape from Nilsen and told the cops too, right?
No, I don't think so. No, they caught him just from the drain issue.
Okay.
Neither of those two ever went to the police to turn him in.
Okay.
Because neither of them knew that he was doing this until later.
Yeah. I thought some victim got away and said something, and then they didn't take him seriously or something.
No, there was the second one. Martin had said that he, right at the end, actually Nilsen was getting rid of his last victim, and he went to the apartment, like unexpected.
Yeah.
And Nielsen's like, no, you can't come in. Right. And he's like, I think if I would have gone in there that night, I would have never got out of there.
Right.
Like he would have killed me to not let me leave and tell. And so, yeah, pretty creepy shit. Definitely fucked him up too. Like I said, I mean, he had a lot of problems. When Martin did go to visit him in jail. Said he was all cocky about it and acted like a celebrity with the whole notoriety he got. It's fucked up. He said he probably would have killed 150 if they didn't catch him when they did. So he was getting good at it, he thought. And again, very narcissistic, very cocky. Martin thought, if he would have moved in with them, he asked him, if I would have moved in, would you have still done this? And he said no. So now you got that
guilt. I don't believe that, though.
You got that guilt, though. Like, boy, like if I would have moved in, like, because he wanted him to move in and he didn't want to.
But he never did. But he also could have been a victim, too.
Well, that's what he says, too. And he's got a lot of survivor's guilt over this. Like, why not me? Why not me,
I wonder if Nilsen was, like, popular in jail, too, because he was homosexual.
I don't know, man.
It's just because you don't hear that, them getting put on a pedestal as much over there, like criminals in jails and stuff. Like they still look down on them even within the jails. You get like Fred and Rose West, like never ever been liked in jail.
Right.
And motherfuckers despise them for their crimes.
Right.
And how they are.
Well, don't forget he killed a 14-year-old boy too, so that probably didn't fare too well in prison either.
No, but I'm just saying if he felt like he was somewhat popular in prison and kind of liked it a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Probably because he was able to do favors.
Oh, yeah, probably right.
He probably had it a little easier, I guess I'm saying.
Sure, that's true.
He might even have enjoyed it, which is
may have been, man, like a speck.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was thinking too.
The jury didn't buy the insanity defense, Joey. So how do you think that he wound up doing? I don't know. I mean, it seems like maybe he did, have a pretty good deal. It did say he got into a scuffle and got 89 stitches, though, so he was roughed up a bit. He winds up writing an autobiography, The History of a Drowning Boy. It was like 400 pages, never gets published, supposed to be really awful. I know there's parts of it you could find online. It's pretty shitty, I've been told. I didn't read it. There's also something he wrote that's in this book called The Monochrome Man. It's got some crude drawings of victims that he drew with captions and stuff on them, very eerie. There was also an eerie phrase that he wrote called peaceful, pale flesh on a bed, real and beautiful and dead. So that's creepy.
It's
pretty creepy stuff. Yeah. So he's definitely very, very obsessed with death. May 2018, Nilsen died of pulmonary embolism at age 72. So good riddance to a piece of total fucking shit.
Yes, sir.
So you guys have anything to add to this one? We went a little bit long with this. An hour and 20 minutes is a longer feature for us, but that's cool. I mean, it's an interesting conversation, and I think the ties to Dahmer make it even more interesting for us, tying it in with the U.S. case,
I don't really got nothing, really.
Okay. So my research was done with the book. I've referenced it a few times now, Killing for Company by Brian Masters. Also, a couple of docs I watched on YouTube. There was a really good one that I saw that you have to kind of stumble upon it, but if you use the word necrophile and search for necrophile Dennis Nilsen, you'll find it. It's the first one that comes up. But if you don't put necrophile on it, I don't know how long you got to scroll till you'll find it.
Luckily, as soon as I put N in my search bar, necrophile is the first thing that pops up.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So there is some good stuff on him if you look. And I mentioned the book, a lot of stuff on the web as well. So if you want to learn more about that creepy motherfucker, go for it. Now, next week, we got our 100th podcast, guys. We've already got it done. It's uploaded. So our Patreon members can check that out. But everybody else has to wait till next week, the 100th podcast.
And
with
it's
our
fucking
feature.
good one. It was fun.
It was really fun. Listening to it again was fun to re-examine it. Our feature on demonic possession. Of course, we had our buddies from the Black Crypt podcast in here. We had Joey Goremonger in here. Of course, our boy CK, and talked about all sorts of demonic possession stuff, horror movies about the possession. Had an interview with Christopher St. Booth from Spook TV, which was awesome. And then, of course, Tony Campagna of Spellbound Effects and Art, also talking about horror and his piece Spike that he sent us for the episode. So it's a good one.
Those eyes still freak me out.
Definitely,
on that thing, dude.
they do. And they look like Pinhead to me, for sure.
So when you get done listening to Dennis Nilsen, you need another podcast list to go spend $3 at the 666 Club.
There you go. Listen to
You
it
can
early.
listen to the next one
That's
right now, bro.
Yeah, $3. That's pretty cheap.
Plus the
Door
other
cover
stuff, too.
charge.
Yeah, plus everything else that you get.
Yeah, you get all kinds of good stuff, which we'll talk about, of course, as always, in the metal segment, I think, or Mayhem, one of the two. But we got plenty of murdering done tonight, guys. And
a lot
time
of
to,
disgusting shit.
really, for sure. So time to get that great metal motherfucker on board and talk about some fucking crazy shit,
Yeah,
man.
let's get our fucking metal on. Yeah.
Known the world over as the master of metal, the crusher of posers, and murder metal mayhem's knower of all things metal, hailing from Wild Man Street in Danbury, Connecticut, standing at 6 feet of brutal, punishing madness, weighing in at 220 pounds of poser pulverization, the one, the only, toughest bastard on the planet, Chris C.K. Kovacs!
Well, goddamn, we got the great metal motherfucker on
Fuck
after
yeah,
a
we do.
harrowing
Holy
fucking
shit,
between
man.
segment. My fucking God, this is probably among the worst audio dramas of all time. I don't want to belabor it anymore because I'm about ready to throw my computer across the room. And if we want to continue doing this podcast, I have to hope not to do that. So, we are with CK. We are here. Joey Goremonger's here. Chris and I, and the pandemic and riots and just chaos.
And chaos in the studio.
And
Holy
in
shit.
the studio
man.
with Hindenburg. I don't know what's going on, but we are recording right now, and let's move on. CK, what you got, buddy?
Dying Fetus, CK.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, since you guys were doing a fucked up thing, I had to think of something fucked up to do for music. And since I did Carcass, my second was Dying Fetus,
Well, yeah, of course.
which is a band from Maryland. And I'm not going to go through band members because they're one of those bands who have had
Yeah.
yes, John Gallagher being the only sole original member at this time, along with, at this point, he has Sean Beasley and Trey Williams. Now they're a three-piece. And this lineup has been together since 2007-ish, give or take. And John Gallagher was actually, before, when the band formed, he was actually the drummer because they couldn't find a drummer, so he played drums and sang. And they got a singer and eventually found a drummer, so he went back to being the guitarist, got rid of the singer, so he was the guitarist and singer. They formed in '91 in Maryland, and they recorded a demo called "Infatuation with Metal Violence" in early '94. Malevolence.
Death
Chemo
metal
brain.
guys know the pronunciations of certain words, right? Malevolence is
That's my,
definitely right there.
When I was in school was the fucking baddest. Cashman brought that
yeah.
and bathing entrails, man. Holy fuck, bro. God damn.
Bathed in entrails. Gotta love that.
But they released a demo, and eventually this is released with a compilation of other stuff on a label called Wild Rags Records. And the only band that I remember from Wild Rags is Blood Come, which oddly enough was Tom Araya's brother's band in '86.
One of
nice.
the big band from right here in Bloomington is Impetigo, and they were on Wild Rags too.
Oh,
yeah,
right. That's right.
I saw they were on there too.
Nice.
But eventually they recorded their first album, Putrefaction Through Violence. It was on a short-lived label called Pulverizer, so obviously, they didn't get much help with them because
Right.
that label pretty much went out of business as soon as it formed. And I think that was an Illinois label, actually, out of Illinois.
Not familiar with it,
Not
but
positive,
not
but
saying
definitely
it's
could have
not.
been.
Yeah, for sure.
That fucking album, fucking right there too, is like those 2 EPs and that fucking goddamn album right there. That's Dying Fetus, like the beginning of it, obviously, but those 3 right there, I'm like, holy
Wicked.
fuck, dude.
Yeah, that's
Influenceable.
that's when I think that's when they were probably considered almost grindcore at that point.
Yeah.
And then they eventually, I think they caught for the second album, they signed to some German label, Morbid Records, for a 1-album deal, and that was the second album, Killing on Adrenaline. So, obviously those first couple albums, they weren't getting much label support at all. And at that time, Kevin Talley joined the band. And Kevin Talley's one of those drummers who's like, he's kind of like a journeyman type drummer. He's been with tons of bands.
He's a fucking robot.
And I thought for some reason that Adam Jarvis was in Dying Fetus.
I did too.
I was wrong.
He was with a Misery Index.
I know, but I wondered if he toured or something, because I could have sworn I remembered him being in Dying Fetus too, and I just, I didn't want to seem dumb when we interviewed him to ask, because I didn't see him in any of his bio or anything.
But both bands have members from both. And
True.
But 3 members from Dying Fetus left Dying Fetus and formed Misery Index, and Kevin Talley is one of them that was included. So he was the original drummer. Yeah. So I think that's where I got kind of confused.
That could be for me too.
Eventually, Relapse Records signed them and re-released the first 2 albums plus the demo on CD. And they've been with Relapse ever since 2000. So they've been with them shit for 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a rarity.
It is
these days,
rare, yeah.
Usually you go from label to label. I don't know any band at this point who's been the same label for 20 years.
Right.
And they've been released.
Beat us to die, dude.
I guess. Yeah, really. It's in the act of dying for 20 years.
Exactly.
But they're still they released their 4th album, Stop at Nothing, in 2003. That was I believe that was Destroy the Opposition was the first one for Relapse. Then they released Stop at Nothing in 2003. And a lot of that album was strong political themes. They got away from the gore and that shit. And
like as soon as they even Purification, a lot of it was like political. Like their first one was, a lot of it was political lyrically.
And they've kind of strayed away a little bit from the gore in later albums.
Yeah, I mean, a band has to evolve. That's what's tough for some fans to understand. It's like, the core of the band you don't want to change, and you don't want it to lose what it is. But a band can only write so many albums about one topic. It's like, you want to just vary it up.
In the studio, homie.
True. I'm not saying that there haven't been some that have been able to do that, but a lot of bands, you just want to just do something different. Talk about something else. As a lyricist, I was lucky that we did a lot of different, varied topics in Low 12. So I never felt at all pigeonholed into any one thing. But I could see if that's all you wrote were gore lyrics and you did it for multiple albums, you might want to try to do something different, like in their political aspirations, whatever. I can't stand when bands get political. I wish they'd just shut the fuck up about it. But
I agree.
But I know that there are a lot of bands that make their bread and butter with that shit, and they dig it. And hey, if that's your thing, that's fine. It's not mine. I typically don't like that kind of stuff, especially in music.
I just think when you get too much into the political stuff, you could start to lose fans.
Well, yeah, because you're going to lose half your audience. Come on. The country's split 50-50, so you're going to piss off half your audience, at a minimum half your audience, if you go on either side. So it's a losing fucking situation. It's just stupid. Just stay away from it. You know, it's like the third rail. To me, at least, it is.
Right.
What's your Lost Classic, CK? You got a good one this time.
A band out of Minnesota, which put out they put out an EP, then they put out a tremendous album, Power Mad, Absolute Power.
Yeah.
They were around like in the mid 80s. They put out, I don't know if you guys remember, Combat had a series called Combat, I think it was, not bootleg series.
I need to interrupt real quick. You do understand we're talking about a band right now from Minneapolis called Power Mad, and the name of the debut album is The Madness Begins. You understand what the fuck is going through my head right now?
That's fucked up.
What the fuck?
I was trying to stay away from that when I actually picked this.
Dude,
I know you did.
they sound very familiar to me. Like I could have sworn like playing with them or something. That name just is very familiar to me.
Well, they had first they put out a thing with Combat had a thing called the Boot Camp series, which they took demos from bands.
Right.
Some of them they didn't sign. They just took them, put out a 4-song vinyl EP
Right.
of the demo, and that was it. Power Mad was one of them. They put out the demo on the Boot Camp series. Reprise Records signed them after that, believe it or not.
Huh.
They put out an EP, The Madness Begins, like Chris mentioned. And right after that, they put out Absolute Power, which, when I heard it, was holy shit. Amazing album. It's like thrash metal, a little bit of progressive stuff.
Right.
Great songs. Great energy. Check out the two Nice Dreams. Actually, Charred Walls of the Damned redid it. The band with Richard Christie and Ripper Owens.
Oh, right.
They redid that song. The song was amazing enough when Power Man did it, and Charred Walls of the Damned redid it. And holy shit!
Nice.
But this album is like impossible to find. I think I saw it on eBay for like $900 on CD.
Oh, Jesus.
Or some shit like that.
Wow.
It was some outrageous
Did you
price.
find it streaming at all?
No, it's on Apple Music, so it should be on Spotify. It should be on
Google and all
Google
that stuff.
Play.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome, man. Always good to hear about a classic. And, you know, talking some news, Chris, you just mentioned about Cannibal Corpse in the studio. That's fucking awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
Always good to hear about that. And Chris, or CK, I should say, Fate's Warning, man. That was some good news to come out of that camp.
Yeah, they supposedly recorded 13 songs. So
Yeah.
Unless their songs are shorter, it sounds like they're going to put out a double album.
Yeah, it's going to be a major fucking undertaking. They all recorded it remotely, as far as I know. I know Bobby recorded his drums in Texas, so that's
I
really
saw
cool.
that.
That's really, really cool. And I saw also
But,
Gary Holt writing some new stuff for Exodus, which is going to be badass.
Yeah, I saw that today too.
Yeah. So some good
So that should
stuff
be some
maybe
sick
coming to
stuff.
this COVID bullshit, you know, so that would be good for something to come of it.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, for sure.
Some good albums, of
Yeah.
bands bunkering down and
Yeah.
trying to wade through some bad times, because they've got to be rough for them, man, especially the ones that do it for a living.
Yeah.
You know, that's
easy.
not easy, you know, so
And then people are still releasing albums. I mean,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they are.
the new Sorcerer was released last week. I know there's a couple things coming next couple weeks. The PPMD, which is the album with Bobby Blitz, Mike Portnoy.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I saw
That's
that.
coming out.
Okay.
And a couple other things I can't think of off the cuff, but
That's
people
cool.
are still releasing stuff. So hopefully,
Yeah.
things are as far as music is starting to get a little bit back to normal.
Right. And Joey, how's the new album? Still doing okay?
Yeah, doing fine. Catching up. I was able to get a bunch of shirts made and stuff.
I was going to say, I thought I saw some new shirts.
Yeah, if anybody out there is interested in some Goremonger shirts, just go to the Goremonger page and look me up. Something funny that happened the other day is we had a big cookout at Chris's.
Yeah, we did.
And,
yeah, I did see that.
Our buddy Kevin, the guitarist for Waco Jesus, he stopped by. He was
cool.
hanging out. So I'm hanging out with him for like, a while that day. And I kept looking at his shirt and fucking, it never dawned on me until like fucking right at the end. I looked at his shirt probably like fucking 20 times. And finally I'm sitting there looking at it and it's fucking a picture of Kiss. But with the Led Zeppelin logo
yeah, with the Led
underneath
Zeppelin logo.
I
remember that.
It took me so fucking long.
There's something wrong about this shirt. Yeah, I remember that.
The only reason I even looked is I was about to say something about how Pete fucking hates, Kiss and shit. And I was like, but it says Zeppelin. And I was like, holy shit. So I had to give him good props on
that.
that.
That was pretty fucking hilarious.
That's pretty good. All right, well, did you have a story, Chris, you wanted
just
to
something
tell,
quick
metal-related?
Quick that just happened today. It was actually kind of funny. All right, so we get this FedEx truck coming into work today that we're unloading it, and the driver's there. He's up in the trailer and shit. And I don't know if it was just I got one of my aborting shirts on. I don't know if it was my shirt, the tattoos, the septum piercing, or just me in general, but just out of nowhere, he's like, so I was listening to some old 80s rock today on fucking Spotify, whatever. He's like, back in the day, he's probably about your age or so.
Right
around there, whatever. He's just like, and I used to be like big into like 80s fucking metal and shit and everything. He's like, and then out of nowhere on Spotify, Metal Church, the song Metal Church starts playing. He's like, that whole song is like metal all the way through, the drums just nonstop. I'm just like, all right, that came out of fucking nowhere. Fucking good talking to you, bro.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
that's awesome, dude. Yeah,
So I thought that was kind of
definitely
fucking cool, man.
transcends the ages a bit.
Fuck
so
yeah, it does.
That's
I was like,
fucking
hell yeah,
awesome,
this
man.
dude just like straight up metal. I'm like,
That's
fuck
very
yeah.
cool. That's very cool. Well, guys, I think we've done some good metal tonight. So, CK, what's next, brother?
We're going to get our Mayhem on. Thank you for calling Calendar Shoe Repair. We're cutting off your penis is an important part of your foot health.
Wait, hold on. I didn't catch that last part. Whatever, dude. I have a pair of work boots I need to have fixed.
We can do that for you, sir. Please bring us a half a cup of your wife's pussy juice when you drop the boots off.
What? I'm not married. Even if I was, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Did you say pussy juice? What the fuck, dude?
Sir, please don't use that kind of language. This is a respectable business.
For Christ's fucking sake, fuck off. Jesus.
Chris Shawback and CK doing a little fucking Joe Callinger shoe repair commercial. That's good stuff. Man, those are so fun. We'll have to do those again here soon. I'm running out. I'm going back to the old, so...
Yeah, we're due for another batch.
Yeah, I know. It's like they never stop because it's like we keep doing episodes. Yep. So very cool. We did a promo on the fly. Joey did a little English, Scottish Dennis Nilsen accent for the intro to the show. So it's
okay.
Yeah, so you'll hear that. But, all right. Well, we are in Mayhem. Still got Joey Goremonger here with us. Fuck yeah. And me and Chris and CK on the phone, literally on the phone, because we're having all sorts of computer drama, like something's going on in here. But we're making it work, and it's going to be a nightmare for me to fucking piece this together. But it'll work. I know how to do it. It's just not going to be pleasant. But hey, in the name of it,
it always sounds good regardless.
Yeah. I'll make it work, but it's always tough to do this this way, but hey, whatever works. We're forging the fuck on, and we're in Mayhem. I know Joey's got a story to tell. CK, you got a short story to tell. So why don't you start, CK? Why don't you tell us your story?
Okay. Well, when we're talking about the stories last week with the zits and the pus and all that,
yeah, those are nasty.
I forgot I had a small one to tell. A couple years ago, I started to have this pain on my pinky for some reason. I thought like maybe I hit it.
Yeah.
And it was like sore for like a couple days. And I remember this. I remember driving to work on a Sunday, because it had to be a Sunday, because I was driving like at 3:30 in the morning. And Sunday was the only day where, this is before I was management, where I actually went in at that time. Right. So I'm driving, and like I said, I thought I hit my pinky a couple days before that, and it was like sore, like you hit it.
Right.
And I remember driving, and I was having trouble putting my pinky around the steering wheel. And it's pitch dark, so I can't see anything. So I was like, well, when I get to work, I'll fucking look and see what's going on. So I get to work, and I get to my office, or my what's called my department office. And I look at my pinky, and I got like this huge, what looks like a huge zit.
Ugh.
I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like,
on your pinky, like which knuckle placement? Where are we talking about?
like right between the knuckle on the pinky and the knuckle on the hand.
Oh, damn.
Oh man, all right.
Okay.
So that little spot. I'm like, how the fuck you get a zit on a pinky like that?
That's pretty fucked up, dude.
So it's like hard as a rock. So I'm like, it has a head. So I'm like, so I'm gonna get, I did the right thing. Unlike my buddy last week.
Yeah.
I actually got alcohol.
Right.
Took a pin, dipped the pin in the alcohol, found a lighter. I lit it to make sure I sanitized it, and I poked it once. So after that, I decided I was going to squeeze it.
Yeah, that's what happens, right? Yeah, that's where the thickness comes out.
Oh, man.
So I barely touched this fucking thing. I swear to God, shit spurted out like a rocket in the sky.
Oh, nasty.
Right? So I'm like, it scared me. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm really afraid. I was like afraid to like squeeze it, because I didn't know what the hell was.
Right?
Right? Wow.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So I go on to squeeze it, and like pus is coming out. It's not spurting, like it's just like oozing out. Pus.
Is it like cottage cheese?
No, but I squeezed it. Pus comes out. Then I see all this hair come out.
Oh, it's like a big old ingrown hair.
I must have like, I swear to God, it must have been like 20 ingrown hairs in there.
Oh, God. That's nasty.
Oh, man.
Yuck.
I was like, holy shit!
Yeah, I would have been too. Like,
Wow.
I've never seen that before.
that's
Oh,
good times.
God.
right
That's
there.
fucking rough.
Oh
Man.
man.
And it was all on the napkin I had, and I was gonna save it and bring it home. just because I was so amazed, I was gonna show Laura. Go, look what happened at work.
Wow.
I'm sure she's glad you refrained from that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
she's like-
Well, another really quick one, which I just remembered. Right after I had cancer, I had to be like within the first year. I had like a sore on my back, what I thought was a sore, and I thought it was like a zit, like on the tailbone.
Yeah.
And I tried popping it. Yeah, like literally on my tailbone.
Not in your
On my tailbone. No. No, I had enough trouble with my ass. But it was like right on the tailbone, so I'm like, I couldn't pop it. So Laura looks at it, and she pops it, and she goes, "What the fuck?" Like, what do you? I'm like, what do you mean, what the fuck? She goes, "Don't move." I'm like, okay. She goes and gets tweezers, and she pulls out this tuft of hair.
What the fuck?
Are you like a werewolf?
Yeah, I've never heard of like tufts of hair.
I was like,
God damn. That's
I had an
nasty,
ingrown
man.
hair back there too.
Holy shit! Like, why does your hair grow inside? That's crazy, man.
But come to find out, a lot of people have that in the tailbone.
Okay.
A lot of people have it where they have.
This is like the best.
It was like a tough. It was like
Wow.
Probably like 4 inches long.
I'm gonna call this motherfucker Peter Cottontail now.
And I'm like, what
man.
the fuck? She goes. She's like, that was fucked up.
Yeah, a little bit. Joey, can you follow up the ingrown ass hairs of CK?
I mean, I'm gonna keep it body fluids.
Okay.
But this happened to me probably when I was like in my early 20s. But my buddy, he wasn't 21 yet, so he was still younger. I was living in DeKalb, and fucking my buddy, he shows up like late as fuck. All them dudes I kicked it with back then, like minimum wage assassin dudes. And
Right.
They were all younger then. Like I met them in high school and shit. So my buddy Nate, he comes over and he's fucking hammered. And this dude, like, he was a steady drinker, all through high school and shit. So it wasn't
Right.
like it was something new. But yeah,
Right.
he's fucking drunk as shit. He comes over to my house. We're fucking hanging out. He's like sitting on my couch and I'm fucking doing whatever. And he keeps fucking with me. He's like, think I'm gonna hurl, bro. And he kept doing that shit. And I'm like,
Wow.
go to the bathroom if you're gonna throw up. Or I literally, like, you could walk right outside my door and there's a porch and shit. Like, one or the other. Puke out there.
Yeah, out there,
Right.
not right here where you're fucking
but he keeps
sitting.
fucking with me. He's like, I'm gonna get sick. And he's just fucking with me, laughing at me
The
and
whole
shit.
time, yeah.
I'm like, motherfucker. So, I'm just,
Wow.
by that point, I'm just like, whatever. I'm ignoring him and shit.
Right.
And then so fucking at one point, he's like, oh, fuck, bro, I'm gonna throw up. I'm like, yeah, whatever. All of a sudden, projectile vomit all over me. Like, it was like fucking, Exorcist all over my fucking, I'm like,
Oh my god.
dude, I was so fucking pissed.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So I'm sitting there, and I get the fucking, I change my clothes and all that shit. He's laughing. He's fucking wasted, still laughing. So I go outside. Like I said, the porch is right outside my fucking apartment where we kept a big-ass garbage can for the beer cans.
Right.
So I bring in a big 55-gallon, garbage can and shit.
Full of beer cans.
No,
and he's
there wasn't that much in it, but I sat in front of him. He's sitting on my fucking couch, and I sit in front of him. I'm like, here, bro, if you get sick, there's the garbage. Like, now I know you just fucking threw up on me. So he's sitting there, and he's got his hands, like, in the trash, and he's got his head in the trash.
Ducking in,
So
yeah,
I'm, like,
yeah.
cleaning shit up, and all of a sudden I hear him, like, lurching again. You're like, ugh, ugh. And what's that motherfucker do? Takes his head out of the trash, leans over, and throws up all over my fucking floor.
Oh my god! Fucking asshole!
Dude, I was so fucking
I would have been so fucking pissed, dude.
So yeah, that's when I got
God,
puked
yeah.
on. That was a good time.
Oh man.
Oh
That's
man, real
good
quick,
stuff.
That's
this will take real short, dude.
Yeah, go
It
ahead,
made me
dude.
think of something. So one time, maybe I told this before. Stop me if I have. We was in my car one time, and dude, this guy I was with, he had just like slammed in one drink a pint of Jack Daniels, and we're just cruising down the road. I'm like, that's probably a bad idea. We were probably 21, 22 at the time. I'm like, that's probably a bad idea. He's like, nah, I'm good. And we're just going down the road. All of a sudden, next thing you know, he's covered his mouth. His cheeks bloated out like a chipmunk full of nuts.
damn.
And like pointing at the window with the other hand. I'm like trying to stop.
man.
Next thing I know, my front windshield is just sprayed with fucking Jack
nasty.
Daniels vomit, dude. I'm just like, are you
that's
fucking
gross.
serious, dude? So we had to stop. We're in the middle of town, dude. Fucking like,
Jesus
like, what the fuck, man? We had to stop.
Wow.
Luckily, we were right by the car. I was just like, fix it. Like, but yeah, that was pretty fucked up.
Jesus
And
Christ.
and you can't get that smell out of your car for like for a
Yeah,
while.
that's nasty.
Yeah, especially when it's literally straight Jack Daniels. Now
Yeah.
my car smells like whiskey.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, that's nasty. God damn. Good stories, though. That's awesome, man. Well, the usual killer cage match we've got in this segment here. We do this every week. We pick a killer or two killers, two objects, and a variable, put them in a cage. Our listeners, though, Chris, they give us some random numbers.
Yes.
Because we got the list of the killers and the objects, and they give us the random numbers. And once again, who's the the contributors this week, our listeners.
Are Miss Stacy Dudley, Wesley Hudo, and Laura Pert.
Awesome. For the random numbers, we appreciate that, guys. Tonight we got a good one, Joey. We got Ted Bundy and Carl Panzram, dude. That's
Attack of the
interesting.
Sodomites.
Attack of the Sodomites. One's a little different sodomite than the other.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
really. And they're going to be fighting with a couple of objects, Joey. What is that?
They're going to have a fence post wrapped in barbed wire
Okay, that sounds like a good time.
Yup.
and a can of bug spray
Yeah.
with DDT in it.
With
Nice.
DDT.
Dennis Nielsen with the bug spray.
Right, yeah.
Interesting. And CK, what's the variable we got going on here tonight?
The variable is two very hungry German shepherds.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's
Yeah, that's going to be mean. So we got Ted Bundy and Carl Panzram in a cage fighting to the death with a fence post wrapped in barbed wire and a can of bug spray with two very, not just hungry, but very hungry German shepherds in the cage with them. Chris, what do you think, dude? I mean, this is an interesting one, man.
all right. I'm gonna go with my scenario.
Okay.
I forgot.
That's a good one right there.
Yeah, that's a real good one.
All right. Bundy's gonna go for the fucking barbed wire because he can't beat up Panzram.
Yeah, Panzram's tough, man.
Panzram's going for the bug spray to hose down the fucking dogs' faces so they're
Good
incapacitated.
call. Good call.
Like, fuck you guys, I'm taking your eyeballs out.
Right,
Fuck
yeah,
off.
they're fucked,
Dogs
yeah.
are incapacitated from the bug spray. Bundy's got the fucking fence post. He's going to swing at Panzram and hope he hits him. But I feel Panzram's a little more sneaky and devious. He's going to duck and dodge. He's going to take out fucking Ted Bundy, and Bundy's going to get sodomized by Panzram and the fence post.
Repeatedly.
And the fence post. That's mine.
All right. Joey, what about you, man?
I mean, I think we all got to agree that probably in their prime, Panzram was like physically
Yeah.
more strong than
Yeah.
Bundy.
Word.
Bundy would have to get that fence post with the barbed wire, I think.
To have a
Plus,
chance, yeah.
Panzram, I think, being a hobo and
Yeah.
doing that, he had to fight
Yeah.
all the
Right,
time.
he was constantly
I really
fighting.
think-
Bundy
though-
wasn't fighting all the time. He was, college boy, and
Yeah.
so I can't imagine him being very
But I think even
able
if
to
they,
handle himself with Panzram.
they
In
start fighting.
reality, I think Bundy was just a pussy.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they start fighting, though, I think regardless, like, by the time any kind of blood starts flowing or something, them German shepherds, if they're hungry like that,
damn.
they're going to come out on top because they're going to kill
wow.
the fuck out of them.
And they want the meat.
Yeah,
that's
Even
true.
if they got that nose, even if
Yeah.
they fucking blind
I would say Panzram, but I give it to the variable this
you
week.
give it to the
Yeah, I
variable
think,
word.
to be honest with you, whoever gets a hold of that fence post is probably going to win because the other one's going to draw blood, and those fucking German shepherds are going to be all over that shit.
whoever got hit with the fence post.
Yeah.
That's a good thought.
So that's what I'm kind of thinking there. There's a lot of maybes could happen with this one with that fence post and barbed wire.
Yeah.
So, well, good one, I think, guys, tonight. Very, very interesting conversation. I think we've done plenty of mayhem tonight, so I think it's time to hit that outro, boys. Fucking witch killer, man.
yeah.
Day of the
Old school.
Saxons. That is very old school. Canadian band, an old, definitely worthy CK of a lost classic with that EP
Oh, yeah,
from them.
definitely.
That's
It's
I
so
mentioned
long.
them before, man. They're obscure, but I had it busted out tonight. So going old school with that one. Thanks, of course, to Joey Goremonger and
Hell
CK for being here with us tonight, despite all the fucking crap we've had to deal with the audio problems.
Making it work, man.
Making it work. Bumper music, of course, by Dying Fetus creator, and we just talked about Witch Killer. CK, your intro music is by who?
None other than Chrysix.
Nice, nice. And Joey, the Murder Metal Mayhem intro?
Low 12 from right here in Central Illinois.
That's right, my old band, Low
Killing
12,
it.
fucking A. I was gonna mix it up, Chris. I was gonna have you do the Chrysix one. I forgot. I was gonna see if you were paying attention.
No, I feel special. Shit.
So Tony Campagna, we've talked about him before. An amazing artist. Spellboundaffectionart.com. A friend of Tony's turned me on to this other artist that's doing some really wicked stuff. And I reached out to him in hopes that he'll want to do an interview with us. So really cool stuff.
Hell yeah.
Tony is just affiliated with a lot of really talented people, and so one of his buddies turned me on to this other artist who's just some killer death metal album cover style stuff. Really good shit.
I'm actually friends with another indie artist that does kind of the same thing, and
nice.
I wouldn't mind getting a hold of her, seeing if she wouldn't mind just doing something to help promote, dude. So fuck yeah.
I mean, we're getting ready to do one on Joel Rifkin, a little sneak peek there, and just was talking to you guys before the show about doing an interview with the author that wrote the book on Joel, who actually ironically went to school with him, which is really crazy.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that works out. So yeah, we're always looking for that. So anybody listening that's a band member, got a new album coming out, want to talk about it, or authors, filmmakers,
let us know.
Yeah, get a hold of us.
No problems talking, dude.
No, not at all. So
as the kids say, hit us up.
That's right. So go to murdermetalmayhem.com to hear all the old episodes. 99 of them by the time you hear this, and some bonus content as well. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to that YouTube channel.
Don't let them lie. We don't do much Twitter.
We don't. I send out one tweet a week when the new episode comes out. Join the 666 Club and help support the show at patreon.com/murdermetalmayhem. Be a Patreon member. Joey, we talked about that earlier, man. That 666 Club. Very good way to help support the show.
And
so
you can
$3.
go listen to the 100th episode.
Yeah.
Once
early.
this drops, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
100.
You could listen to it right now. Members have already got the link to it. When you got the link, they got it. Right. So that's how fast they get the stuff. As soon as I send it to you guys, I'm sending it to them by email. So they're getting it instantly. We got some good comments this time around. Thanking everybody out there listening. We got a good one, Chris.
Amy Wilson 86 says, this is my new favorite podcast. You guys rule. I'm glad we're your new favorite podcast. Fuck yeah.
And I'm glad you think we rule.
I'm glad you think we rule.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I appreciate your support and let people know. Fucking, we'll keep doing what we do and keep on keeping on.
Fuck yeah. CK, what about the next one, dude?
Randy Bopandy 69. God, you gotta love that.
Right.
Commented, I've been to Jerome and says, crazy as you guys said. Great episode. I'm a new listener, and so far I love what I hear.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's a good one. I like that. Went to hear Jerome, which we didn't know how people would receive that one, but we're doing well. It's at almost 900 listens already. So,
Yeah,
Joey,
it was a great episode.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Joey, what do you think? The third one here.
Jessica Raptor Killer.
That's a hard job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, me and my coworkers listen to you guys at the factory we work at. It's hilarious. But we do get some strange looks from a few people. Fuck them and horns high.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Yeah, I can imagine. Some people might walk in on a conversation about pus flying from somebody's finger. And be like, what the heck?
Or a big old chunk of hair coming out of my fucking tailbone.
Yeah, or some,
awesome.
Or some kid flying through the window on their sled.
Right. Or fucking any other weird ass shit.
Hey, Chris, what was that last one, dude?
The last one. Metal lives in me.
Okay.
I don't know if you like heavy metal music, if you're the Terminator, but no, metal lives in me. Says I love the combination of true crime and metal. True fucking genius hails from Greece.
Nice.
All the way from Greece. So hails to you. Thanks for listening.
And I actually did a band from Greece on my last live Facebook.
That's right.
Firewind.
Yeah.
That's right. We got a really cool comment. I wanted to read most of it. It's a longer comment that I didn't share with you guys, so you guys are hearing this for the first time. We got a comment on Facebook from a woman named Nikki from Hayward, Wisconsin. And I thought it was really cool of her to take the time out to say this, but it says, I've gotten caught up on all my favorite shows and haven't been able to find a new podcast in a while. I actually just found you guys Googling Earl Leonard Nelson. It's the only episode I've heard, the only episode I've listened to, but I loved it. I've listened to every podcast I could find on him, and yours had the info I had not heard. Love the metal as well. I'm so excited to listen to the rest. So that's really cool. Appreciate that. And, that's the kind of stuff we love to hear because it means that somebody, for whatever reason, plucked out one episode that of his interest. In her case was Earl Leonard Nelson and the Gorilla Killer. And so she got hooked on some Murder Metal Mayhem, and now she's listening to the other one. So that's
awesome.
really cool.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. That's really cool. Thanks to everyone out there checking it out. We do appreciate it. Next week, you guys are going to get to hear one hell of an episode, the 100th podcast from Murder Metal Mayhem, with our feature on demonic possession. And we had a blast with the guys from the Black Crypt podcast. A definite must-listen to episode. Gotta listen.
I promise y'all. We've been talking about it. Y'all are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really great. And if you're a Patreon member, you already have the link. I emailed it out yesterday or a couple days ago. I did a new karaoke song with Dennis Nilsen in mind. This one I custom did. I touched up the lyrics a little bit to fit the song better, for the theme of the show. So a little Patsy Cline for you. So crank this shit up. And until next time, keep one foot in the gutter.
And just turn your fist into a plunger and keep smashing them body parts down that toilet.
Wave goodbye as they swirl down the shitter. The cops tell me a plumber found you in the drain, rancid and rotting too. You stink worse than poo.
Mother, man.